What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to our ninth episode of Unstable. Great to be back, and we're doing another one on time. Uh, let's see, a little housekeeping. We're trying to get to that subscribe goal of 25. Help us out. We're still kind of stuck in neutral, I guess. Help us out with some likes or like goal modest 10. Help us get there. Like, share it while you're at it. Got Alex with me as always from Chaotically Intolerant. How you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing good.
Great, great. Go over there, show him some love. Do the same for this AFC South show on Curtis Podcast Network. Should be all getting together here pretty soon to do another, I guess, joint episode. So make sure you join us for that one. We always appreciate the support, the views, comments. We like responding. I think we'll just kind of dive right into it. We'll do the Colts throwback player of the week. This was Alex's nomination, so I'll let him take it away.
Yeah, Eric Dickerson, Pro Football Hall of Famer, played. Let me think. 5 years for the Colts here. Had a 1,600-yard season in his second year with us. That was the only time he played 16 games with us, actually. But he ran for 2,100 yards in '84. I want to say that was the rushing record. Yeah, he did. Okay. And then I think Barry ended up breaking it. But yeah, he's a cool guy or interesting guy. I've heard a lot of conflicting things about him as a person, but I think he covers a bleaker time in our history.
For sure, man. He a little bit before my time. I mean, probably a lot before your time, but
Yeah.
definitely stands out as one of the Colts' great running backs.
And then he actually went to the Raiders after he was in Los Angeles. He went to the Colts and then to the Raiders. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of years there where we all wish we could have had someone like Dickerson in that Grigson era, man.
Yeah.
I guess with that being said, we'll just kind of transition into our weekly thing that we've been doing. It's our lows and highs as Colts fans, and I guess I'll kick it off just kind of on that note with Grigson. And I was looking at it. We were kind of going over it before we started the episode. My low has got to be in that Grigson era, and I was just going to specifically say when we drafted Philip Dorsett at 29th in the 2015 draft, I was just going to say that because my God, the dude. I'm not saying that guy that's 5'10 and 190 can't be a productive receiver, but we didn't need that. That wasn't a position need. That wasn't. This it's probably the worst draft pick that I can remember where I wasn't like, well, pretty much every first rounder I've been excited, enthusiastic about, like, oh yeah, that'll rock. Even Quentin Nelson wasn't like a sexy pick, but it was a position of need, and he was the best at the position, and it was like, dude, we're gonna rock this shit. He picked Philip Dorsett, and are you goddamn kidding me? And then when you actually look at the 2015 draft overall, it was probably one of the worst drafts for any team that I've seen in a very long time. I mean, I think sometimes the Browns or Panthers might be trying to outdo that one, but Jesus Christ, like in the second round, you took Deshaun Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played 5 games or something like that. Henry Anderson, he played quite a few games, but that's a name that Clayton Gathers, we all, I mean, Colts fans know.
Came to know.
Yeah, came to know. And then David Perry, Josh Robinson, Mario Herrera, like 3 games, 5 games total. Like, dude, I can't remember a GM that has missed on as many picks as he did. Like that entire draft was.
Well,
that was one of my top.
Dorsett was not his worst. His worst was Bjorn Werner in 2013.
Wasn't he a second? I thought, or I thought he was a later
first round pick.
Was he?
He was a first rounder late in the first.
But see, I was okay with it was the fact of where we were in 2015. We didn't need a receiver at all. You went Philip Dorsett, who was like, even the analysts were, why would they do this?
Yeah.
The whole thing was just confusing. And then I guess he
Mhm.
went on. He played like 90 games. He had a total of 2,000 yards, and that's not what you pick at 29. I mean, you don't know what they're going to produce throughout their career, but damn, dude, that was not any. I hated Grigson so much. But I'll switch over to my I guess to one of my highs. They brought in Andrew Luck, of course. Peyton Manning went to Denver. What year was it? Dang it, I just had it. Sorry, I always get my year confused. 2015. Sorry, it was 2015. Philip Dorsett draft year. Well, just before they drafted him. Colts go into Mile High against Peyton Manning. Colts pull off the upset. That's probably one of my high moments, man. It was, yeah, like I lived in Houston. It was shortly before I moved to Iowa, and my another Colts buddy of mine that I hung out with, man, we were watching that game at a bar, and the excitement, like, dude, we all thought we were going to lose that game. Like, it was, I'm just glad we're here. Peyton's going to probably roll us. It didn't happen, man. Like, the Colts defense stood out. But even if you look at the team, man, it was pretty much all luck. And, they had a pretty decent defense, at least in that game. But
their
top
defense
running back was Daniel Herron, like Kobe Fleener, Moncrief, like they had Hakeem Nicks, who was washed at that point. Like they had Reggie Wayne, but he didn't play in the game. Maybe one target. Yeah, he didn't catch anything in the game. But it's like overall the team was just very underwhelming. And to go into Mile High and get that win, Luck pretty much carried the team. So that was a great game. The friend that I watched it with has since, he passed away about a year after the game, and it was a great memory with him. It was definitely a high moment as a Colts fan.
Yeah, definitely. My high moment. Trying to think. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go 2014 or 15. We beat the Bengals in the playoffs. I don't know why. I have some sort of attachment to beating the Bengals in the first round of the playoffs. But Luck had a great throw in that game. He's getting tackled from behind, and he just drops it in the bucket like 40 yards down the field. So I guess that specific play was like my moment but
Wasn't
I think
he almost tackled, like his knees were almost down, but he just kind of chucked it from that? Was that game?
yeah, he was
that was
like
awesome.
he was not. I don't think his feet were on the ground as he was releasing.
Yeah,
and he threw it 40 fucking yards, like 40 or 50 yards in the air and into the bucket. Like that was like the moment where you're like, oh my god, this guy is something
deal,
else.
Man.
Like we knew who he was, but then that really like solidifies it.
Yeah. Never got him a line. Never got him a running back.
Yeah. I never really got him a defense either. The Colts teams, they're statistically around the middle defensively, but they also had they had a really weak schedules. They always had really weak schedules.
Yeah. Man, I think since I guess we pretty much all of our memories consisted of Andrew Luck. I mean, we could touch on it for a minute. It's like, man, I think it was Stephen A. Smith who I saw on a reel. They asked, who do you blame, mostly for, Andrew Luck retiring or quitting or however you want to look at it. Of course, you get a lot of bitter Colts fans that are, he's supposed to, retire 2 weeks before the season. Like, you can say what you want about how and when he did it, but I stand by the fact that Colts, at least management at the time, did him a huge disservice. He blamed Irsay because he kept Grigson around for 5 years too many, and never once really did anything to protect him, give him help. Like, okay, you draft, Philip Dorsett, it's still not going to keep him from getting his ass kicked at the line. Like, it just, it's hard to disagree. Yeah, you should have fired Grigson year 1 or 2 after. Like it, the first thing you do after drafting Luck is you pile up that offensive line, and
Yeah.
it just never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
they did him a disservice.
I mean the whole situation was just mismanaged from the beginning. I mean, it was literally going into that draft, there was mismanagement when it came to how Peyton Manning left, and he was not happy. And I'm like, partially, I get it. Like we stopped believing in you. Partially, if you have Andrew Luck or an older Peyton Manning, which one are you gonna take, right? Like 3 years of Peyton, where like he's really Peyton for like 2.5 of them, or
Maybe they didn't know how he'd come back. Like he just had major surgery. Like they didn't know how he'd respond to it, how
still
he'd
a maybe,
perform.
or Andrew Luck, which if he's healthy, he's going to be your savior.
Yeah,
I don't blame the Colts for that. Peyton, I think he did say he like wanted one more year. My like favorite fun fact about that is Peyton wanted to do a quarterback by committee with Andrew Luck, where Luck would be inside of the 20, or he would be. So Peyton would only do the red zone, basically. Peyton would only be quarterback in the red zone. Luck would do everything else, from that point on. And I don't like that. I would have rather, honestly, I really would have rather than have Luck sit for the first year.
yeah.
That would have been
ideally,
like
but
the
I think it had a lot to do with
alternative.
that bonus that like Peyton Manning was due a shitload of money the year they drafted Luck. Like I feel like that had a lot to do with it. Like we have a franchise guy coming in that's touted as the most NFL ready to come out pretty much since Peyton Manning, and do you pay Peyton Manning that much money and also have Luck who they feel is ready to play now?
Yeah.
So I mean I get it. Yeah, it would have been nice to have another year of Peyton with Luck sitting behind, and you could. I get the reasoning. We want to be able to surround Luck with talent. They just didn't fucking do it. Like they got Hilton, but like who Reggie Wayne stuck around for a couple years, a few years, whatever. But who the fuck like Toby Fleener? I mean,
hey,
Eric
they got
Ebron
Andre
who came.
Johnson. Andre Johnson.
Hey,
They got
Hakeem
Frank
Dempsey. I'm
Gore.
going to keep cycling out these guys, but Frank Gore was productive, man.
But Luck
he gave us
hurt.
like our first 100-yard game in forever. Oh man, I hated the Grigson era so much, and anyone that's like, "Oh, you actually won playoff games," Ballard hasn't. We had luck, dude.
Grigson had the massive advantage of a generational talent quarterback versus now he has Ballard has to build again from the ground up with no generational quarterback. He basically started on third and he thought he hit a triple.
Yeah. Like who?
Yeah.
Who coming out?
He was born on third and thought he hit a triple. Sorry.
I mean, most of the quarterbacks that like, who are they really going to be able to get? You know what I mean? It's just, we could have tried to go for someone like Mahomes. Nobody thought Mahomes was going to do this. No, like,
yeah.
He did the best. I feel like Ballard did the best he could at quarterback with what he was given. Like,
and I have a strong feeling Irsay has become more involved. Like probably the past 10 years since Polian left.
Yeah.
In like the actual team and the building of the team rather than just how he was involved before. Well, that's actually not true. I think he was their GM for a while, so I'm definitely wrong about that. Unless he took a step back, I don't know.
I feel like now he has. I see it like a Steichen vision coming through with how they're drafting with the players that they're getting. I see a more Ballard vision. Like they go back to kind of a bigger body receiver, which is kind of the Ballard mo. Josh Downs really wasn't a Ballard wide receiver guy, and
Yeah.
I feel like he was listening a lot more to Steichen on that one, and Reggie Wayne I feel like had a lot of input on that one. I feel like this is more of a coach built team now than it was, when it was Pagano or whatever, and Frank Reich.
Yeah.
I never really saw like a roster formation with those coaches that there's no cohesion with them ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Irsay was the vice president and GM in the 80s and 90s, and then he took over as the owner in 97. So maybe he took a step back when he first got there and he wasn't that involved. And since Polian left and Grigson was there, he felt like he had to hold Grigson's hand a little more. And I'm
Should have
sure
held
he's
it a
doing
lot
it with
more.
Ballard too. That's what it sounds like. So it's like you almost like feel bad for these guys because there's 32 jobs, in the NFL, and you're not leaving a job in the NFL because you don't like the owner 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe was Grigson being bullied a little bit? I don't know. Or Ballard has been bullied a little bit at times in different ways. I really don't know.
It'd be nice to know. But I feel like at least this year, he had Irsay had those health scares, stuff like that. He wasn't even in the draft.
Yeah.
So I got to feel like this was a Ballard Steichen draft. It's what it felt like. I don't think that if Irsay had input, I don't think he's going to say, we need to get Latu. Like, I don't feel like that's someone that Irsay would, there's the injury concern, whatever. But just with that, I don't think that's a guy that Irsay was like, yeah, we're taking Latu at 15. You need to pick him. I feel like that's a Steichen, Ballard. This is our kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I feel like at least now, hopefully, he's kind of taking a step back from it. However you feel about how he's meddled in the team. I mean, he owns the team, but however you feel about that, I feel like him not even being there is kind of just letting Ballard and Steichen do their thing. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But, back to killing. So let's see. We did a lot of highs and lows, mostly lows. Thanks, Grigson. I feel like we're going to look at stat predictions. We'll look at stat predictions. We'll do.
Well, because I didn't do my low.
Oh, shit, you didn't do. I thought we were riddling off a bunch of lows. All right. My bad.
My low is the Deflategate game because we hung in there with the fake footballs or the crappy footballs, and then we got our asses kicked with the real footballs, the inflated footballs. So there's just you can't point and say, oh, they cheated, we would have won that game. Like, we got our asses kicked with the deflated footballs.
We couldn't
we
tackle.
Can't even say that. Like, we got our asses kicked. They actually stopped cheating. That's how bad, that's how overmatched we were.
Yeah. Outside of it was not a very good built team. You can't expect Luck to shoulder the team every freaking game, which is what they did. It's like eventually when you get a quarterback like Tom Brady and a head coach like Bill Belichick, you're gonna get your shit pushed in. And it's what happened. Like the Colts defense couldn't tackle.
Yeah.
Was that
they just aren't physical. And in the cold, they are not physical. And I don't blame them. I mean, it's cold. It sucks. Like, it hurts your body more. But we're a dome team. We always suck outside. Whenever I think of Colts games out in the snow, it's like heart attack, anxiety, all that stuff associated with it.
Wasn't that LeGarrette Blount in that game that just ran all over the Colts?
Who was that? Was a Sunday night football game. I think it was 2013.
Yeah.
And then
something yards or some shit and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was really, really. I remember watching it as a kid. and just being like, he can't keep getting more yards. Like, this is ridiculous. He can't. And then he busts another one out and another one. I was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing.
2015, 2014 AFC champion. Who was the running back in that game for the Patriots?
It wasn't Blunt.
No, I believe that. I'm just curious who it was.
It was
I'm looking at the stats. Hold on. Box score.
It was
Blunt. That was the game.
where he rushed for 240
Yeah,
yards.
well, he might have done that twice to the Colts, but he went off for he had a 73-yard touchdown. He had 166 yards and 7-yard average, 4 touchdowns.
Oh, that's not the game. That's not the LeGarrette Blunt game then.
That's not
because he had like 200.
It's one of the bad ones. But yeah,
Yeah.
this was that shellacking with the Deflategate. He was on the team. Brady didn't do shit in that game.
No, because they
Just
ran
looking
it down our throats.
Yeah, he had 13 completions.
No need.
Yeah,
That must be the regular season game when we played them.
must have been. Yeah, they just couldn't tackle Blunt for shit. Yeah, Ridley ran for 2, so they rushed for 6 touchdowns in the game. God, man, that brings back another. Oh, that's an all-time low. Yeah. When you hold Tom Brady to 13 passes under 200 yards and get your fucking ass kicked. That's a tough pill to swallow. I've had enough. So let's look at highs. Let's get in some positive predictions. Let's see. Stat predictions. I feel like let's look at like AR and JT on the offensive side. We're kind of on a time crunch. Alex has a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. Well, I guess the day that this drops, but yeah, busy times. So we'll just look at a couple of players, and then probably next week we'll look more at a broader, the wide receiver room, tight end room. We'll start looking at their stats. So it's a little bit of a slow time of the year, so we're trying to give some good content when there's not a lot of news coming out. Let's look at AR.
I'm thinking of Jonas Gray.
Jonas
Gray.
Yeah. That's what you're doing this whole time, is looking at the.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I don't think he wound up doing much after that either.
He got cut because he showed up late to a practice or something.
Yeah, he just kind of fell off the map.
Benched. Oh shit! He was benched that season that he had that big game due to a team infraction of being late to practice a week after the Colts game. Something Belichick is known not to tolerate. He would only record 91 more total yards in the season and was inactive for 4 of the Patriots' remaining 9 games, including the Super Bowl.
Jeez.
And then he went back to Miami because he originally was in his first game, or his first team was Miami, and then he went to Jacksonville, and then he was done.
Yeah.
2 years later.
I think after that big Colts game, I actually picked him up in fantasy football. And then, of course, I got Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
I think he was probably the hottest name off the waivers, and all of a sudden, no, he's not playing anymore. Shit. Oh, well. Let's see. All right. Stat predictions. Let's look at and I want to choose these 2 to do right now because I feel like we didn't, I don't think they were on the field at all. I don't think they were on the field at all last year, AR and JT. I don't remember seeing them together.
They had 2 snaps together, I think.
2 snaps. So
that's what they said.
Yeah, not a lot of time for 2 of your big stars on the team to play together. Well, I guess let's look at them. Let's look at what do we think AR is going to do.
6,000 yards.
All the yards. 90 touchdowns. This is some Madden shit happening. I'm thinking. I mean, it's it's 3,000 passing yards at it. I don't
I
think
think
that's an
that's pretty
unrealistic.
reasonable. I
I
mean,
don't think that's an
I don't think
unrealistic.
he's going to be used in the same way other running quarterbacks are used.
I
Um,
would hope not.
so I think he's going to be in the pocket more.
I hope so. I mean, I hope they do some disguises and some, trick stuff. But I hope it's JT with the ball and not AR taking the shots.
Yeah.
Um, I still think he'll have good rushing totals too. But I like to say, 3,000 season passing yards. It's hard with him to predict passing touchdowns though, because I feel
Yeah.
like when they get in that red zone, it'll be a lot of him, running.
hmm
It's hard for me to predict touchdowns. 20, 20 passing.
20 passing touchdowns.
Is that?
Yeah, that sounds actually pretty fair. This
I
feels
don't,
like it's going to be a year where he's still maturing a little
yeah.
bit, I think.
It's like I'm not. I don't know if I'd go. Oh, he's gonna have 35. Like
I
20,
think maybe I would give him 25.
25.
I think
Maybe
I
another
think he
10
can
on
get
the
up to
ground.
25. Huh?
Maybe another 10 on the ground, or a total of 25. Like 25 and 10.
Let me do it. Yeah. 'Cause 35 touchdown, like total touchdowns is a lot.
These are optimistic.
Yeah, I would maybe say 25 passing. And I'll do like 5 on the ground, so 30 total. 'Cause 35 seems like a really high amount. I mean, 30 is not that bad either, but
Well, even then, I'd be happy with 20 and 10. But let's see. JT. This could be interesting with a quarterback like AR. Like, are we going to get a big, resurgence where he's, leading the league in rushing yards, or is he going to be kind of in the, you know, 1,300, 1,600 yards? Like, because I feel like in order to kind of get that rushing title, you probably need to bump, especially at 17 games, you probably need to bump that, get closer to 2,000 to have a shot at a rushing title. I feel like.
yeah,
I
I
don't know
feel
if
like
he's going
there's
to get
gonna
that
be a
much.
couple games where AR does kind of take over, so they won't use JT as much. Um, we'll probably get in I would say a good amount of shootouts too. Um,
I hope not.
I don't know. I feel like with a lot of younger teams, like younger kind of vibe teams, and the Colts are like definitely have that young vibe.
Yeah.
They get in a lot of shootouts, so I don't know. I would probably lean more towards like 1,500.
Yeah, I would like to see that. How many touchdowns? Like 13.
I would say because he's going to take a lot of the rushing assignments that they would probably use for Richardson, um, but not in the red zone though, or not inside the 5 at least. I feel like they would give Richardson more free reign to run the ball in a little bit. 15,
15.
yeah,
1,515. I like it.
yeah, I'll take that from
For
JT.
sure. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to do the other offensive groups next week. So I think another, of course, another intriguing position is, of course, their first round pick, Latu, Latu. I can't say his name.
Latu Latu.
Latu Latu.
Latu.
I saw a thing where they were predicting over under. I think it said 6.5 sacks, and I'm like, 6.5 sacks for what they're touting as the best defender in this draft. Of course, he's an edge. I think 6.5 sacks here would be a pretty big disappointment if that winds up being his total. It won't.
I wouldn't say like a big disappointment.
I don't think you draft a guy at 15th to get 6.5 sacks.
Yeah, but I think more you would want to look at his pressures more than anything. I mean, because sacks can be really difficult. Some guys, they'll lose sacks too because of trivial things like somebody touches the quarterback last, even though they make the hit on him. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and I feel like he'll be a type of guy that also draws a lot of holds. I feel like that was something that the Colts defensive line didn't do enough of either. Like I said, their sack totals were good. As a team, but their pressure rate was awful.
Yeah.
Which means they weren't, getting. Obviously, there was a lot of times where quarterbacks were standing that back there. They could have busted out and started playing, bridge or whatever, and and there was just they weren't drawing holdings. They weren't, I feel like that's something that Latu should change big time on that line. I really like the rotation of the other guys. I don't know if it'll help them or if they'll help him get some sacks, especially playing, with Grove and Buckner there too. I want, we haven't had, what is it, 15 sacks since 2016. We haven't had a 15 sack total in a player.
I don't know, honestly.
I think it was either Mathis I think it was Mathis was the last one to do it. I could be wrong.
That sounds right that it was him. I think it was earlier than that. I think it was 2012.
It's been a long time since we had a high sack total edge.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's going to get 15. I think in that thread, I think I said 12 and a half is kind of where I think he'll land, and I'd be really happy with that. Because that kind of the next guy I want to talk about is also edge, who to this point, he's kind of had injury history, and he's gotten better every year. I mean, his numbers have gotten better every year, but every year it seems like kind of the injury bug bites him. And that 12 and a half is kind of what they wanted when they drafted Pay.
Yeah.
So, with the arrival of Latu, maybe we finally get to see, I mean, they took his 5th-year option, so maybe this is kind of the year where we get to see kind of what they had hoped when they drafted Pay. So, what do you think he's going to do this year with Latu coming in?
I think it's going to be a competition from training camp. I think Kwity Paye's spot is just as unstable as it could be right now. I would say they might try and do sort of I don't know. I feel like if it's not a competition in training camp, I would say they'll try and do a platoon thing where they switch them out in and out for different downs and stuff.
Yeah, I can see that because they got a lot of it. I feel like Latu will be kind of solidified as the every down just about. His motor is always running hot. So I feel like he'll be the majority downs, and then it'll kind of rotate. I feel like Pay will be the, at least going into camp and all that shit. I feel like he's kind of slotted as him and Latu should probably be the two edges, with Grove and Buckner in the middle. But I feel like what you were saying, it'll be kind of a committee approach because they've got Adi Adebore, or however you say his name. They've got Ibukam, who's pretty good against the run too. There's Taekwon Lewis. They've got a lot. They've got a lot of depth at edge. I feel like one or two of them might not even make the. They might get cut just because they have so many. But I feel like you might be right. It could be a rotational thing. So I'm going to put Pay, I guess, maybe 6.5, just because of how many pieces they've got.
Yeah,
I like to see him get more than 10. He hasn't done that since he got drafted, so it'd be nice. But but yeah, I feel like that's my prediction with him at least.
Yeah, I'd love that. 6.5. I'm good with that.
But I don't know if that's 5th-year option worthy. But obviously, you'd love to see you like to see Latu and Pay kind of out there a majority of the time because they're both first round picks, and you like to see them both kind of feasting off each other. If they're focusing their attention on Latu, Pay kind of has the free road and vice versa. So I think, like you said, it'll come down to a big competition at that. But I think that's a really intriguing group to look at. Like who's going to take. I don't know. I feel like at this point you can pretty much pen in Latu, but who's going to take the majority of those other, on the other side? So I think that's an really interesting group to look at going into, you know preseason and whatnot. So
yeah,
it's intriguing. Let's see. I don't know, man. You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, busy day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think we're going to kind of wrap it up there. Again, next week we'll, kind of do our normal thing and look at more in depth and more of the position groups and what our stat predictions for them are, kind of based on where we put AR, because we did say about 20-25 touchdowns for him, so we kind of got to divvy out those touchdowns accordingly to wide receivers. But anyway, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Again, smash the like, subscribe button. Do it here. Do it Chaotically Intolerant, and the AFC South Show. We really appreciate the support. We hope you at least found a few things in this interesting or fun or whatever. If you did, make sure to drop a comment. We'd love to discuss. So if you have anything to say, we'll talk about it in the next show. But until then, thanks for watching and be good people. If I can ever find the recording.